Hello there, we're going to do a lentil bolognese today. A good way of getting protein into you without having meat as the base of the recipe. So we're using red lentils. You could use green lentils or brown lentils, whichever you fancy. Lentils also come in handy tins now where they're ready for you just to put straight into the recipe. The red lentils I have here, I have rinsed them under the water just to get rid of some of the starch from them, and then I have speeded these up by adding some boiling water to them. If you add boiling water to them, it starts to soften up the lentils and they just take quicker to cook. So they've been sitting for a couple of minutes in the water, and to start us off, we're going to start getting on to the vegetables, which we're going to cut up nice and small. So the bolognese that we're going to do today is going to have carrots, onion, mushrooms, garlic and celery in it. But you could add things in like peppers, courgettes, aubergines, anything you like. And if you have somebody that's maybe a wee bit fussier in the family and they don't like vegetables, it's a great sauce for grating things into. So I'm going to start off with the celery. I've pre-washed my vegetables so they're just ready to go. The celery adds flavour. If you really don't like celery, that's no problem at all, or if you have an allergy. But celery is a great one for adding flavour to soups, sauces. So I'm a great fan of putting it into most things. I've got 2 stalks of celery here. You don't need to use them all if you don't want to. As long as you've washed it and you take off the roots. So that's our celery ready. Just going to get a wee bit ahead and get some of the things cut up. Next thing is your garlic. If you've got a garlic crusher, that's a great thing to use at this point. If not, just grate it or cut it up into small bits. I'm going to grate my garlic today. Be careful on your fingers. It starts to open up the garlic and get the nice garlicky flavour out. If you get any big bits, you can just chop them down at the end. That's the garlic ready to go in as well. I'm just going to put that in with the celery. Next is your onion. If you want to do your onion so it doesn't collapse when you're cutting it, leave the wee bottom bit on where the roots are. Very thinly slice down. It just stops the onion taking off. You can cut it across this way if you want. Makes the bits slightly smaller and then just cut down. And it just stops your onion taking off. Put that in with the celery and the garlic. Now the carrots can keep the skins on. I'm going to keep the skins on because these look pretty good to me. I'm going to top and tail them, and then you can either grate them in or you can put them in wee chunks. But the skins are good for fibre, and as I say, if they're in good condition, there's no reason why you shouldn't be eating them. Best way to cut carrots, if you don't want wee circles, is just to cut them in half so they don't take off, and then cut them into nice wee slices. And the next thing we've got is our mushrooms. So again, if you want to slice them very thinly, cut them up wee, or grate them if you think that it's easier to put them in that way. Super. Just hold your wee mushroom and then just slice it across. So that's all our vegetables cut up, ready to go in. We're going to start getting the vegetables softened up in the pan. A wee bit of oil, that could be either sunflower vegetable or olive oil, whichever you've got handy. And just put it onto a sort of medium heat. So our pan is now nice and warm, ready to put the vegetables into. Just get them in there, get them sizzling. What you're doing now is just cooking them gently so that the flavours start to come out of all the nice different vegetables you get in there. And start to soften down. So the ingredients we're going to put in this bolognese, you can use this with meat as well if you want. It's basic ingredients that you would use in a bolognese sauce really. The difference is we have lentils as our protein. Balsamic vinegar, which is really good for adding to stocks and soups. I've got a herb here, oregano. It's a nice Italian herb, nice, and again soup stocks, goes well with tomatoes. You could put basil in as well, anything like that. You could put in mixed herbs, it's entirely up to you. Also got a tin of chopped tomatoes, and we're going to put some tomato puree in to make it a nice rich sauce. Also got a wee stock cube here, a vegetable. If you really wanted the flavour of chicken or anything like that, you could put a chicken stock cube in or a ham stock cube. So lentils and beans can also count as one of your 5 a day. Roughly about 80 grams counts as a portion. You can get them into all sorts of recipes, in soups, making a meat substitute in Bolognese. And if you can increase your fibre, then that's always a good thing. The vegetables are cooking down nicely, and now I'm going to add in the balsamic vinegar. I've suggested 1 to 2 tablespoons. We put 2 into this one. I've also suggested you put in 2 tablespoons of tomato puree, but if you're not quite so keen on that, then you can just put in 1. It does tend to make the sauce nice and rich. I'm going to put your herbs in now as well. Again, if you really like a herby taste, go for a teaspoon, more than that if you wish. Give that just a wee stir around to get it into the vegetables. Then we're going to put in your lentils and your tinned tomatoes. I tend to put a wee drop of water into the can just to get all the nice tomatoey juice that we've left behind in the can. And just pour it in as well. So what needs to happen now is that needs to be brought up to the boil. Once we've added our wee stock cube in, you could melt this down if you want, but I tend to just find if you break it in, it's going to melt down anyway while it's cooking. So if you just crumble it into the sauce, it will melt down in. So your sauce will start to cook quicker if you get it up nice and high and put your lid on. At this point you could add your salt and pepper if you feel you need it, but there is plenty of salt in the stock cube that you've already added. So it's up to yourself, but the stock cube adds the flavour and the salt intake as well. I'm going to just let this come to the boil now and wait for it to absorb all the flavours and become nice and thick. The sauce, once it comes up to the boil, should take roughly about 20 minutes. If you've pre-steeped your lentils, it might take even shorter, it just depends. And in that time, we'll get the pasta on probably in about 10 minutes so that it's all ready to come together when your pasta's cooked as well. So that's the bolognese ready now. It's absorbed all the nice flavours, it's become quite soft and it looks like bolognese. So we're going to plate it up now. So I've cooked my spaghetti and it's ready as well. I'm just going to put on the sauce. If you didn't like the texture of the vegetables and the lentils, you can use a blender and blend it down, and then that's it as a bit much smoother sauce if you prefer that. Enjoy your lentil bolognese.